So in this lecture, you're going to study about what is hashing. Okay. Then we will study what is the hash function, what is the hash table, what are the different hash functions that are possible, what are the characteristics of a good hash function, and then if we get time, we will study what is collision in hashing and what are the different techniques to resolve the collision. Okay. So this is an important topic. Almost you can expect at least one question to come for from this topic for your exams. Okay. So please pay attention. It's a simple topic, but you need to remember everything. Okay. So what is hashing? Basically, hashing is a method for storing and retrieving records from a database. Okay. So hashing is used mostly in databases. It's used as an index table, just like how in your textbook you have an index, and the index lets you find all the topics quickly and the page numbers on which they are located. In a similar way, you can think of hashing. Okay, it lets you find data quickly. So either to insert, to delete, or to search. Okay, these are the most basic functions that are used in databases. So when it is properly implemented, these operations can be performed in a constant time. Means you can like more or less how much time it will take. So so most of the times when you have properly implemented a hash function, hash system, you can find that record in the hash table within one or two records. Okay, for each search, insert, or delete operation. So this is far better than the binary search. Okay, or a linear search. So basically, what is a hash table? Okay, a hash system stores records in an array called as a hash table. Okay, so basically, a hash table is implemented as a array. Okay, most of the times it will be like a one-dimensional array or a two-dimensional array. Okay, so hashing works by performing a computation on a search key k in a way that it is intended to identify the position in hash table. Okay, that contains the record with the key k. So basically, when you have a hash table, I'll be giving you an example later on. So the hash table, you're going to search, insert, or delete records from the hash table by doing some computation. Okay, you'll be using some function to find the records. So that function that does the calculation of the computation is called a hash function. Okay. So based on that calculation of the hash function, you're going to search for records or insert or delete records from the hash table. And the hash function will be normally denoted by the letter H. A position in the hash table is also known as a slot or a bucket. Okay, so each array position will be known as a slot or a bucket. The number of slots in the hash table will be denoted by the variable m. Okay, and these are not fixed letterings. It could be anything, depends on the textbook you refer. Okay, so the slots are numbered from 0 to m minus 1. So your array indexing starts from 0. So therefore your numbering also in the hash table will begin from 0 and it will go to m minus 1. So this is that example I was telling you. So basically a hash table is a one-dimensional array indexed by an integer value computed by a hash function. Okay, hash function is used for indexing. Like I told you, what is indexing? Indexing means searching for a value, just like you can imagine like the index of your book or textbook. Basically, the hash table will contain in each position two entries. One is the key or the value that you're storing, okay, also known as the key. And the second is the index. The index is nothing but your array number, okay, array index, which starts from 0. Okay. So initially you can, if you want, you can initialize your hash table to all 0. Okay. You can have all the keys set to 0, but it's not compulsory to do that. A hash table contains a key value and an index. Okay. So basically, where the index value specifies the state of the memory location, that is whether it contains a key element, that is a value, or it is empty. So we could use something known as a flag with the value 0 or 1, where the 0 would indicate that the array position is empty and a 1 would indicate that the array position contains a key element. Okay. So if a collision occurs, I'll tell you what is the collision. So about this I will talk more later. So right now I'll not talk about collision. So basically, till now what you have studied, I'll just go through it quickly. So you have studied that there's something known as a hash table. A hash table is a one-dimensional array. Okay. So this is an example of a hash table. Each slot in that hash table will be known as a bucket, okay, or a slot. So each position is known as a slot or a bucket. A hash table has an index, okay, and it has a key value. So there's an index, there is a key value. So there are two entries for each, you can say, value, okay. Like each entry you will be having two values. One is the key, which is the actual data value. The second is the index, which is your array index. Okay. So if you want to insert, delete, or search for data, then you will have something known as a hash function, which is normally denoted by H. Okay. Based on computation of this hash function, you will get some value as the output. Okay. So suppose you get 2 as the output. That means at this position 2, you are going to store or search or delete the values. Okay. So depending on the hash function, you will be getting some value for each data item. Okay. You get a different hash value for each data item. So the typical hash table operations are, which I've already mentioned to you. You can initialize, you can set all the values equal to 0 or any other value that you may think that you need. Okay. And you can use the hash table for insertion, deletion, and for searching, that is retrieval of data. So let's look at a hash function a little bit in detail. So a hash function is required to hash the given element in the hash table. The hash meaning to position. Okay, you want to put the data inside a hash table. So basically you're going to use a hash function to put the data into the table, such that locating that key element is almost instant, provided we have defined an efficient hash function. The size of the hash table is predefined. Okay, it has to be predefined because it is implemented as an array. Like you know, array size is not dynamic. Array size has to be predefined. Okay, such that mapping of the key elements to a hash table is done in the predefined limit. So whatever data you are inserting has to be done within that array size. Okay, within that hash table size. You cannot try to insert data in beyond that size, beyond that limit. The hash function may consider the size of the hash table to generate the hash key to position the key element in the hash table. Okay. A hash function is considered to be good if it results in no or minimum collisions. So what is a collision? I will tell you in very shortly, but you can think of like in a normal life also, when there is an accident, okay, it's known as a collision. Two vehicles are colliding. It's not a good thing. Okay, why they are colliding? Because they happen to reach at the same spot at the same instant of time. Okay, that's why in real life there's accidents happen with respect to vehicles. Okay, so something similar happens with respect to data. When you try to insert two or more values in the same array position, okay, when you try to insert two or more data values in the same array position, that time it is known as a collision in a hashing. Okay, so that is with respect to hashing, collision. So a hash function h is a function which transforms a key from a set k into an index, okay, in a table of size n. So I've just mentioned to you. So it will be denoted by h. There will be some function, some mathematical function will be given to you. Using that mathematical function and each data item, you're going to compute a hash value. Depending on that hash value, you're going to insert the data into that hash position. Okay. So all this I've just explained to you. You can just read. And we will look at it more in detail. So there are two types of hashing. Okay, static hashing, that is the set of keys or the data items is fixed and given in advance. The second type of hashing, dynamic hashing, the set of keys can change dynamically. Okay, then you need to know something what is known as the load factor of a hash table. It is the ratio of the number of keys to the size of the hash table. Okay, the ratio of the number of keys to the size of the hash table is known as the load factor. So as the load factor gets closer to the value 1, the likelihood of collision will increase. Okay, so the load factor is a typical example of space versus time trade-off. Basically, depending on whether you want to retrieve the data faster or you want to, how much size you want to allocate for the in the memory for the hash table. So the space, okay, depends on that. So normally, depending on that, it will be a factor of that. So there's a trade-off. If you give a very big hash table, the time to retrieve data may be larger. You give a very small hash table, it will be faster to retrieve the data, but the load factor could be more. Okay, because you're given less space. So these are the characteristics of a good hash function. First one, it should minimize the collisions. Okay, like I told you, what is collision? Collision means you're trying to store 2 or more data values in the same array position or the same hash index. Second characteristic, it should be easy and quick to compute. Third characteristic, it should distribute the key or the data values evenly in the hash table. Okay, it should spread the data across. It should not try to insert all the data into one position only, for example. Okay, that's not a good hash function. Or 4 or 5 positions only. So it should try to use all the information provided in the key. Okay, sometimes there are hash functions which are generated based on the value of the key. Okay, then it should have a high load factor for a given set of keys. Then there are various kinds of hash functions. Okay, I am teaching you just 4 hash functions because these are they mentioned in your syllabus. There are many more. You can refer to them if you want in future. Okay, from your textbook or from the internet. So the first hash function that you will study is the division method. Second one is the truncation. Third one is the mid square method. And the fourth one is the folding method. So most commonly we are going to use division method. Okay, most of the times in your exams, in your ITs or wherever, most of the times the division method is used. Okay, in various textbooks or online if you refer. So let's look at them one by one and you will also understand what is hashing. Okay, the same technique is used for inserting, deleting or searching data. So here most of the times in this presentation we are going to see how to insert the data. So the same technique is used for searching and deleting. Okay, so we are not going to repeat, only once or twice I will just mention it so that you understand. So let's look at the division method. This is the first hash function. So the idea is basically you're going to map a key k into one of the m slots, okay, in the hash table by taking the remainder of k divided by n. So basically you're going to call a hash function like this, h of k, where k is the data value, and you're going to write the hash function as k mod m, okay, where mod stands for modulus. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to find a remainder Okay, you're going to find a remainder, and whatever is the remainder, in that slot you're going to insert the data, okay, or the key k. So the advantage of such a method is it is fast and requires only one operation. You just need to compute this modulus. Okay. Disadvantage is certain values of m are bad. Okay. So it will result in collisions. So suppose you use power of 2, okay, or non-prime numbers for m, then it could result in more collisions. Okay. You can test it out. So let's take an example, okay, and see how hashing works using the division method. Okay, so this is a hash table. Okay, like we have previously discussed, each value here is known as, each position here will be known as a slot, or it will be known as a bucket. Okay, this is a table where the size of the table is m equal to 8. The numbering starts from 0 to m minus 1. Okay, so from 0 to 7. Okay, this is the hash function which is given to you. Okay, so the moment you see this modulus, you must understand that we are doing the division method. Okay, this is the data you are supposed to insert into the hash table. Okay, so let's see how to do that. So you're going to insert the data using this hash function. Okay, without a hash function you cannot do any operation on the hash table. So let's see how to apply this function to the data. So take one at a time, each data value. Okay, start from 36. Okay, which is your first value. So you need to compute the remainder. Okay, using this hash function that is given to you. So m value also has been given to you. Suppose you are not given the m value, say in the exams, and you're just given this hash table like this, a diagram. You need to look at these index values, and you must know that m will be this last index plus 1. So here the last index is 7, plus 1 is the m value. So sometimes they don't give you this table, they will just give you m equal to 8, and they will give the hash function. If they don't give you the hash function, you need to take one hash function by yourself, and you need to write it down in your solution. What is the hash function that you are taking? Okay, then you can take something like this, k mod m, and you can start inserting the value. So let's start by inserting. So the first value is 36. Okay, so you find the remainder, the 36 mod 8. Okay, now remember what I'm saying, it is remainder, okay, not quotient. So the remainder of this division will be 4. So this value that you obtain, 4, is known as the hash value, hash. Okay, so the hash function generates the hash value. So 36, or the key k, this is now the k value. Okay, so this k value 36 will be stored at this hash value that you have generated for 36. So the hash value for it is 4. So when you want to store 36, you're going to go to this index 4. Okay, because you got here the hash value as 4, and you're going to insert 36 there. Got it? Now take the next value, 18. Okay, so you are going to again apply this hash function to it, k mod m. Okay, so k is now 18. When you apply, k is 18. 18 mod m, m value is 8. So you get the remainder as 2, which is your new hash value. Okay, so for 18 the hash value is 2. Therefore the key k 18 will be inserted at this hash value 2. Okay, 18 is getting inserted at the index or the hash position 2. So suppose I was telling you now, search for the value 18. Okay, search for the value 18. So what you would do? Apply the same hash function. Okay, whatever hash function you have used for insertion, you need to apply the same hash function. So again you will apply this hash function. Okay, 18, you will get again hash value as 2. and you will go to this index 2 and retrieve this value 18. So you're going to retrieve it. Okay. Same way, if I tell you to delete 18, if I tell you to delete 18, apply the same function that you use for insertion. Okay, you cannot apply different functions. Take this value, apply the hash function, you will get some hash value, go to that position, okay, and delete 18. Okay, so that is the way you're going to apply the hash function. Okay, so now let's continue with our insertion. Next value that you're going to try to insert is 72. So you apply the hash function. Okay, so 72 mod 8, you get remainder as 0. So you will, the hash value is 0, so 72 gets inserted at 0. Take the next one, remainder or the hash value is 3, so 43 will get inserted at index or the hash position 3. Take the next one, so 6 mod 8, you cannot divide 6 by 8, so therefore 6 is the remainder. Okay, so therefore 6 will be inserted at the index 6. Suppose you were trying to insert a value, say 99. Okay, so if you apply this hash function 99, what is the remainder you get? Can you tell me? Three. Yes, correct, Ivan. Okay, so you are going to try to insert this 99 there. Okay, so what will happen? Already something has been inserted, okay, at that position. Okay, so this insertion will result in something known as a collision. Okay, if you have taken 99 mod 8, remainder would have been 3. So if you try to insert now at 3 here, then it would have resulted in something known as hash collision, or simply you could have called it as collision. Okay, so we'll look at it more in detail later. Just remember this. Okay, so I hope you have all understood division method. Pretty simple. Okay, if you have any doubts, you type in the chat box. I'll come and answer later. Okay, so continuing, the next hash function is a truncation method. Okay, so in truncation method, what you do is basically you delete a part of the key. Okay, truncation means you are deleting something. Okay, so you are deleting a part of the key k. Okay, and then you use the remaining digits as the hash value. Okay, so consider the key k. This is the key. Okay, that you want to insert into the hash table. So I could make a rule that say use the last 3 digits as the hash value. Okay, just I'm making a rule. Use the last 3 digits as the hash value. What you will do? You will take this hash function. Means this is my hash function, last 3 digits of the key k. So therefore 122 is my hash value. So given in my table, somewhere there will be 122. So this key, this entire key will be stored at 122. Okay, 013 402 122. This value will be stored at the index 122. Okay, so this is a simple rule I could make. Any rule you can make like this. Okay, wherein you're deleting part of the key and you're using the remaining digits. Okay, and the disadvantage of this method is it will not spread the keys properly, okay, uniformly across the hash table. So therefore it could be used with other methods. Okay, maybe to solve collisions. Okay, you could use it to solve collisions maybe. So this is just your second hash function, truncation method. Third hash function is a middle squaring method. So basically in this middle squaring method, you're going to choose the middle section of the key. Okay, then you're going to square the whatever section you have chosen, you're going to square that section, and then that result you're going to use as the hash value. Okay, so for example, consider this value key k. Okay, select the middle. So I'm selecting 3 digits as the middle. You could select 2 digits. Okay, you could select only 1 digit as the middle. It's up to you. Okay, as a programmer, depends on the size of the hash table. So I'm choosing 3 digits, the middle 3 digits as your hash for the middle section. Okay, so once I've taken the middle section, I'm going to square it. So I find the square of this value 402. So the square of that is 1404. So then of this square, I could use the middle section as the hash value. So out of this square, I get this. I could use 6140 as my hash value. Okay. So in my entire hash table, there will be somewhere starting from 0 till somewhere there will be 6140. Okay. There I will store this value 013402122. Okay. So this is how you use the middle squaring method. The fourth type of hash function is the folding method. Basically, in the folding method, what you do is you divide the integer key k into sections. Then once you divide the key k into sections, you can apply some mathematical operation like add, subtract, or multiply. Okay, all the sections together for combining into the final value. Okay, you can use any of this or any other that you prefer. Okay, so for example, if you are given this key value, okay, divide them into sections. So I'm dividing here into equal sections. It's a 9 digit, so I'm dividing into 3 sections of 3 digits each. So okay, once I've got the sections, I'm adding these sections. So 013 plus 402 plus 122. So after adding, I get some value. This value will be used as my hash value. Okay, so in the hash table, there will be some 537 somewhere. Okay, you're starting the numbering at 0, and there will be 537 somewhere. Okay, so at 537 index, you're going to store this value 013 402 122. Okay, this is how you apply the folding method of hash function. Okay, so before I go over to collisions, does anyone have any doubts with respect to hash functions? You can let me know quickly. We have studied 4 different hash functions: division, middle squaring, and folding and truncation method. So does anyone have any questions? So with respect to this hash functions, a very important question that comes is what are the characteristics of a good hash function? Okay. The second could come is explain this hash functions with the example. You need to explain with the example. I've already given you the examples. Okay. You need to explain. You can take your own example also and explain. You don't have to by heart. Just need to remember the method. And I think it's pretty simple to remember. Just need to revise. Okay, anyone has any question, you can let me know in the chat box. I'll continue. Okay, I'll continue. You can let me know in the chat box. So next we come to know something known as a collision in hashing. So like I've told you previously, a collision occurs when 2 different keys hash to the same value. Okay, so for example, consider this hash table where the table size is 8, that is value of m is 8, and you consider 2 keys 18 and 34. Okay, and say you are using the division method as a hash function. Okay, so this is the division method. So 18 mod 8. Okay, so basically my hash function is h of k. I'll just write it down for those of you who may get confused. My hash function that I'm using is h of k equal to k mod m. Okay, so this is your m, table size. When you apply this hash function to 18, you get a hash value as 2. Okay, so therefore you will store 18 at 2. So when you apply for 34 also, you will get a 34 hash value also as 2. But 34 cannot be stored at index 2 because already it is having 18. Okay, it's not possible to store 2 or more values in the same slot in the array or in your hash table. So something like this, when it happens, is known as a collision. Okay, hash collision or collision you can call it. Okay, so when a collision occurs, you need to do something known as collision resolution. Okay, so first of all, you need to in the exams it's an important question, what is the collision and what are the different collision resolution techniques. Okay, so I've told you what is a collision. Now let's look at what is collision resolution. So obviously solving the collision is a what is known as collision resolution. Okay, so when already one slot has been occupied, say here for example 18 is occupying the index 2 or the hash value 2, we need to find another slot for 34. Okay, I cannot insert 34 here because of collision, but I need to find another slot for it somewhere in the hash table. That process is known as collision resolution. Let's look at the different techniques for collision resolution. So there are two main methods, open addressing techniques and chaining. So under open addressing, you get three methods: linear probing, quadratic probing, and double hashing. Okay, so basically you're going to study four methods for collision resolution. Okay, three methods under open addressing and one method which is chaining. So let's go through it quickly. So let's look at the first method of open addressing. Now remember, these techniques are to be used only when collision happens. Okay, they are known as collision resolution techniques. You are not going to suppose this is a hash table and you are told to insert values. You're not going to insert these. You're not going to use these methods. Suppose you are told to insert the values. Okay, just like that. So suppose when you are inserting the values, it results in collision. Okay, collision happens. The most important word is collision. If it results in collision when you're inserting the keys, then only you're going to use these methods. Okay, otherwise you're going to use the normal hash function that has been given to you to do the insertion. Okay, whatever hash function has been given to you, use that to do the insertion. But when a collision happens, then you're going to use these methods. Okay, I hope I made myself clear. So let's look at the first method. So the first method is linear probing. Okay, so the main idea is when a collision occurs, you will scan down the array one cell at a time or one position at a time, looking for an empty cell or empty slot. Okay, so let's take one example and understand this, what has been given to you here. Okay, so suppose we have been told to insert these values. You're given the hash function and you're given the size of the table. Okay, using this, let's look at how to do linear probing. Okay, so take these values and use this hash function to insert the values. Okay, as long as no collision is there, just keep on using this hash function. Okay, we are not going to do anything, we have nothing to do with this till collision happens. Okay, so let's start. Take the first value, compute the hash value, you get remainder as 9, insert 89 there. Take the next value, you get a hash value as 8. Okay, insert the 18 at 8. Take the next key 49, compute the hash value, you get the hash value now as 9. Okay, now you can see that at index 9 already there is 89 which is stored. Okay, so therefore what has happened right now is it has resulted in collision. Okay, it has resulted in collision. So the moment collision happens, we need to apply some collision resolution technique. So we are going to now apply linear probing. Okay, to find a slot, we need to find a slot for 49. Since the hash, its original hash value, that position has been occupied, is full. Okay, so by linear probing, what we do is, okay, consider this as a circular array, kind of circular, okay, like this. Okay, so when you consider as a circular array, now I wanted to insert 49 here. This is full. Okay, so I go to the next position here at 0 and I check whether that position is full or empty. Since I find, okay, this position as non-empty, okay, so I will insert 49 here. I will insert 49 here. This process is known as linear probing. So now I will put 49 here. Okay, understood? So you're considering this as in a circular fashion. Take the next value 58. Compute the hash. Okay, you get hash as 8. When you get a hash as 8, okay, you will try to insert 58 at the hash value 8. But you find that 8 is occupied. So you go to the next index. You go to the next index 9. Okay, and try to insert 58 there, but you find that this is occupied. Therefore, you will go in a circular fashion to 0. Okay, you go to 0. Try to insert 58 there, but that is also full. So you go to 1. The next index here. Is it full or empty? It is empty. So therefore, 58 will be inserted at 1. So from the original, have you noticed what is happening? 58 was supposed to be inserted at the index 8. Okay, but it resulted in a collision. There was something that was already stored there. So one by one, I incremented the index values. Okay, and I tried to find an empty slot for 58. So the moment you reach the end of the hash table, you need to go back to the start. Okay, you need to remember that. So when I reached the end of my hash table, that is index 9, I went to 0 and I kept searching till I found an empty slot for 58. Okay, so let's take the next example. So next example, say I want to insert 69. Okay, so for 69 again I get a hash value as 9. When you try to insert 69 here, again it's a collision. Okay, the moment collision happens, I'm trying to use linear probing. I go to the next index 0, try to insert there, but again there is no slot free. So I go to 1, I try to insert there, slot is not free. So I come to 2, slot is empty. So 69 will go to slot 2. So this is how the collision is resolved using linear probing. Okay, so this is the drawbacks of linear probing. Okay, so it works until the array is full, that is the hash table is full, but as the number of items n will approach the table size, then the access time will approach a value known as O of n. Okay, now what is this O of n? You'll be studying in the next semester in how to calculate all this. Okay, for right now it is some value that is for use for computing the efficiency. Okay, that it is very prone to cluster formation. Cluster means all the values are grouped together. So if you are having a big table, okay, having all the values grouped together, okay, say all this remaining table remains empty and all these values are just grouped together, okay, into this is known as a cluster. So it tends to form a cluster, like you can see here. all the values are inserted from starting from index 8, 9, 0, 1, 2. Why? Because the values were similar. The ending. Now I was using a division mod function or division hash function, and the data values were similar. All the values were either ending with 9 or ending with 8. Okay, so therefore all these values were grouping together into one end of the table. Okay, you can see the middle section of the table is empty. So this kind is known as cluster formation. Okay, so in the you can just, for homework, you can find out and you can note down in your books. You can find out what is known as primary clustering and secondary clustering in hashing. Okay, just find out what it is and you can tell me tomorrow. Okay, I'll be asking you, so please find out what is primary clustering and secondary clustering. Find out some example, I will ask you. So if a key hashes into a cluster, okay, finding a free cell involves going through the entire cluster, like we saw here for 69. Okay, this was like, if you were imagining this as a folded table, so you can just imagine that these all values are at one end. Okay, although they are looking at far away from each other, but if you're observing this as a fold, you're folding it in circular fashion, then these all four values will be next to each other. Okay, the end of the table is touching the front of the table if you imagine it as a circular fashion. So this 69, when you're trying to insert, is getting hashed to this cluster. So finding a free cell involves going to this entire cluster. Okay, you're checking with 89, 49, 58, and then you find a free slot for it here. So that is the meaning of this. So if a key hashes into a cluster, finding free cell involves going through the entire cluster. Okay. So inserting a key at the end of the cluster will cause the cluster to grow. Okay. So here I've already given you what is primary clustering. Actually, this is the primary clustering. Okay. So you need to just remember this at least tomorrow when I'm asking you. Okay. So can have cases where the table is empty except for a few clusters. So maybe if I'm having a very big table of million records, I could have just, there's a very big table, but I'm just having records here, some records here, and some records here. The rest of the table is empty. Okay, it's possible like that. So that's the drawback of linear probing. Okay, most of the times it does not satisfy the criterion of a good hash function, wherein that criteria is where we need to distribute the keys across the table, okay, uniformly across the table. So linear probing fails in this. So let's look at the second method, quadratic probing. Okay, in quadratic probing, it's similar to linear probing, but here when you're searching for an empty slot, you're going to increment by I square instead of I. So again, let's take the same data, the same hash table and the same hash function to understand quadratic probing. Okay, let me do this quickly now. So the data have changed slightly. Okay, it's not the same data as previous, but let's see how it works. Okay, so I'm using this hash function, so I'm doing it directly. Okay, I think by now you should be able to do, I'm applying this hash function. So 18 gets inserted here, remainder is 8 when I apply this hash function. 19 remainder is 9, so 19 gets inserted here. You need to show the working for your exams. Okay, here I have not shown, but you need to show. 20 mod 10, you will get remainder as 0, so 20 gets inserted here. 29 mod 10, remainder is 9, so now it results in a collision. Okay, so let's see how to do quadratic probing to solve this collision. So first I will scan the slots by using this I square. Okay, so to find a free slot I will use this I square. So what I mean, starting I take I value is 0, I try to find a free slot. If I find, very good, otherwise I go to 1. If I find good, otherwise I'll go to 2, and so on. So the I value starts from 0, 1, 2, and so on till you find a free slot. Okay, so let's see how to find a free slot now for 29 using quadratic probing. So initially I take I equal to 0. I square is obviously equal to 0. Okay. So what you do is, now here hash value is 9. Okay. So now you're going to imagine that this I equal to 0, you're getting this 0 here. So this 9 you're going to imagine is 0. Okay, when you're solving the collision, this 0 that you get will be this index 9 that you had got in the while doing the hashing, the original hashing, where you had got the collision. Okay. Now, because this cell is not free, increment the value of I to 1. Okay. Find the I square of that. So you will get again 1. Okay. Now this goes in circular fashion. So this, if this is 0, then this will be 1. Okay, this one. I'm not talking of the array indexing. I'm talking of these values that I get after doing the I square. So why I'm getting 0, we are starting 0 here, because original hash value was 9. Okay, so this is 0. For only 29, we are talking only with respect to 29. Then next I've incremented to 1. I square of that is also not free. Okay, not free. Now I will increase I to 2. I square is 4. So you continue this numbering. So this will be 2, this will be 3, this will be 4. Okay. So now this cell is free, 4. So therefore you will insert 29 there. Here, that is how you find the slot for 29 using quadratic probing. Okay. So once you have inserted 29 there, okay, and this working you need to show this working. Okay. No need to show these arrows. No need to show these arrows. These are showed for you for understanding. Okay. In your exams, you need to show only so much. And then the correct insertion here. You take the next value 30. Okay. 30 mod 10 equal to 0 is a collision. Okay. Therefore, you apply quadratic probing. So you start with I equal to 0. So now where's your 0? Okay, is where your collision occurred. Collision occurred at this index 0. Okay, so this is now again this 0. Okay, increase to 1. Find I square. So I square is again this value 1. So this is now 1. Cell is free. Insert 30 there. Okay, I hope you are getting what I'm trying to do. Take the next value now, 31. Okay, 31 equal to 1, hash value is 1, there's a collision. Okay, there's a collision here. So again you start collision resolution using quadratic probing. Start with I equal to 0. Every time you have to start with I equal to 0. Okay, you are not here, you cannot say that I had found I equal to 2. So for the next collision, I will take I equal to 3. No, you need to, every time there's collision happening, you need to start with I equal to 0. Okay, I've clearly shown you in this presentation. So please don't make that mistake. Every time new collision happens, start with I equal to 0. So now 31, again collision has happened at this hash value 1. So start with I equal to 0. I square 0 is obviously, where's your 0 now? This. Okay, here is the hash value. So there you start with 0. Start with 0 there, this 0. Okay, cell is not free. So I make I equal to 1. So I square is 1, cell is free. Okay, so where is your 1 now? Number your 1 correctly. So this is your 1. After 0 comes 1. This is 0, this is 1. Insert 31 there. Okay, so I hope you got what is quadratic probing. Going to the next method, Okay, double hashing. So this is the third method of open addressing. So basically what we are doing is we are using two hash functions. Double hashing means two hash functions. Okay, so let's take this data and see how to apply two hash functions. Okay, so this is a good example here. See, this is the division method hash function, okay? And this is some other maths function that is given to you. Okay, where r is a prime number. Okay, it's given to you what is r. R is a prime number. If it is not given to you, you can use your own hash function here. Okay, sometimes they may not give you the second hash function. You need to apply your own hash function here. Okay, so for example, here they have applied this hash function and they are telling that r is a prime number smaller than the size of the table. Okay, smaller than the size of the table. This second hash function is to be used only if there is a collision. Only if there is a collision. If no collision, do not use this. If no collision, no using this. Only insert the data using H1. If there is no collision, insert all this data using H1. Okay, you are not going to insert the data by using H2. H2 is to be used only if there is a collision. So let's see how to apply. Okay, now I have applied the data for 18, 19 and 20. There is no collision. Okay, so I've used this H1 function, hash function, and applied. I've applied it directly because you already know by now what is happening. Hash. Okay, we find the remainder. 18 is inserted at 8, 19 is inserted at hash 9, 20 is inserted at hash 0. Okay, there is no collision. Now you take the next value 29. Okay, 29 mod 10 equal to 9. There is a collision. There is a collision here. That is the time you will take the second hash function. So h1 has given you. You can call this as h1 also here. Okay, you can call this as h1. Here also you could have written here as h1 because that is your h1 function. Okay, when you are writing in the exams, you can write this as h1. So now there is a collision, therefore use H2. Okay, so you are going to use this H2. You find one R value, which is a prime number smaller than the size of the table. Size of the table is 10. Okay, so let me say R value is 7, which is a prime number. Okay, now I will use R as 7 and apply this. Okay, function H2 function. Now, so when I apply this 29, so R value is 7. Minus 29 mod 7. So 29 mod 7, you will get the value as 1. 7 minus 1, 6. Okay. Just applying this function. Substituting the values. Okay. I get the hash value as 6. So now I will store 29 at 6. This is the way you use your hash double hashing. Okay, you use double hashing that way. Take the next value 30. Again there is a collision. Okay, at hash value 0. So use the second hash function. R value 7. You have to take the same R value. You can't keep changing. Okay, so once you have chosen a R value, you need to take the same R value for throughout for the second hash function. So apply this 7 minus 30 mod 7. So 30 mod 7 remainder is 2. So you get 7 minus 2 value is 5. So 30 will be inserted at index 5. Okay. So similarly 31 mod 10, there is no collision. So 31 directly is inserted at index 1. This is how double hashing works. Okay, so this is another method, okay, known as rehashing. So when the table gets too full, then you can do something known as rehashing. Okay, so when the table gets too full, inserting or deleting or the operations will start taking too long. Okay, or the insertions will start failing for this open addressing methods. open addressing methods like linear probing, quadratic probing, double hashing may start failing. Okay, so that time what you will do, you will build another table, okay, which may be twice as big, and then you can use it to scan down the original hash table, and you can use a new hash function to compute the new hash values for each element, okay, and insert it into the new table. So basically you will be using two tables. One is the original table and one is the second table. And you're going to use a new hash function here to insert values. If this table is full, maybe you start inserting here. Okay. You can use maybe another entry here to keep a track of this table if you want. Okay. So the second method after open addressing, in open addressing, I told you there were three methods for collision resolution: linear probing, quadratic probing, and double hashing. So besides that, there was another method known as separate chaining or chaining, wherein you could use for collision resolution. So basically the idea is keys hashing to the same address are kept in list. So by list we mean linked list, okay, attached to that address. For each table address, a linked list of the records whose keys hashed to that address is built. This method is useful for highly dynamic situations where the number of the keys cannot be predicted in advance. The example of that is this. So suppose we have been told to hash this or use hashing for this keys, and the size of the table is say 7. Okay, and this is the hash function given to you. So first of all, you are going to make a hash table. Okay, this is your hash table. So from 0 till 6, okay, because the size is 7. Once you have made that, okay, then you need to maintain a linked list like this. I'll show you how. Take the first value, apply the hash function. This is a hash function. Get a remainder as 2. So therefore, 23, this value 23 will be inserted here at index 2 as a linked list node. Okay, as a linked list node. We're going to insert 23. This will be set as null. Okay, take the next value 13. Find the hash. You get 6. So you will put 13 here at 6. Okay, as a linked list node. This is the new linked list now. These are not linked. Okay, this is first linked list. This is the second linked list. Take 21. Okay, find a hash. This by itself could be a linked list. Okay, so take 21, you find a hash, so you get a hash as 0. So you will insert 21 here. Okay, so initially you will insert 21 here and you will call this as null. Okay, don't see these values. So you will insert 21 here and you will put that. Take the next value 14. Okay, now 14 mod 7, again you get index as 0. So normally what would have happened, we would have said there's a collision and open addressing, we would have tried to find some other slot. But here we don't find any other slot. Here what we do, we insert 14 at the same index 0. Okay, we insert one more node here. We insert one more node. Okay, and here we put 14. We insert one more node. So at the same index 0. Take the next value 7. 7 mod 7 0. Again there would have been a collision. Again I insert one more node at that same index 0. So I put 7 there. Okay. So this will be none. So as you can see here, 21 had index 0, 14 had index 0, 7 had index 0. So all these values I'm storing in that index, the correct index where we had got the as per the hash function, okay, in the form of a linked list. Take the next value 8. Okay, 8 mod 7, you get index as 1. So again you insert 8 here. at index 1. Take the next value 15, you get the hash value as 1. So there's a collision because already 8 was stored there, okay, at index 1. But you can still store 15 also at index 1 by inserting a new node there. You will put 15 here. Okay, make sure the last nodes of the linked list, this value is written as null, or you shade it something like this, okay, like how it is shaded in the diagram. So that is how the chaining works, or it is known as separate chaining also, because there is separate linked list for each index. Okay, and these links are known as chains. Therefore, it is known as separate chaining. So you can just look at this differences between separate chaining and open addressing. These are the disadvantages of separate chaining. Okay, so we have come to the end of the lecture. You can let me know if you are having any doubts.